I don't have no felonies. I'm not crazy or none of that. It's like I just want the truth, and it's so hard to get it from the courts. And seems like Jay Z don't want to say anything. So, I don't want to see him go down for something that you could have just got taken care of. That's it.
That's it. Rye Satwait says Beyonce isn't the victim everyone thinks she is. He calls her the enforcer, and he's not talking in metaphors. According to Rye, Beyonce's team offered him hush money to drop his paternity case against Jay-Z, and when that didn't work, the threats started. We are not talking about legal threats either. The word from Rye is that his refusal to be silenced has escalated into something far more dangerous, with intimidation so intense, he now fears for his life.
Got anything. So why wouldn't I believe my mom? Like, we could have been settled this, and it only takes a conversation and some words. I'm not a hateful guy. I don't hate anyone. I'm not after nobody. I'm not trying to see no one downfall. But this is just some things that just went through court, and they just expected me to just sit there and just take what they were saying. I can't do that because
Vermeer, a 31-year-old man from New Jersey, has been in and out of courtrooms since his late teens, fighting to prove that Jay-Z is his biological father. This isn't some sudden cash grab. His mother, Wanda Satwait, swore under oath before she passed that Jay-Z, real name Sean Carter, impregnated her when she was just 16 and he was 22. That affidavit, long buried in the chaos of state court filings, is now resurfacing in a federal case overseen by Judge Cherilyn Peace Garnett in California. But what makes this moment different and more dangerous is who Ramier says is behind the pressure campaign now. Not the lawyers, not the managers, not the publicists. He's naming Beyonce. Until recently, Beyonce has managed to stay completely detached from this years-long scandal. Jay-Z's camp has consistently dismissed Ramier as a desperate opportunist, and legal documents from as far back as 2012 describe the paternity push as a decadecil-long harassment campaign. But Riera isn't backing down. And this time, he's not just naming names. He's connecting dots between threats. 28-year-old Latazia Mazer from Maryland, who recently came forward again. She's claimed for years that Jay-Z is her father, and according to insiders, he quietly bankrolls her Cambridge home, but allegedly forbids her from displaying his photo anywhere inside. Her Instagram post cut straight through the noise. "I've been quiet for far too long." Letitia's family has confirmed it. Her aunt says she introduced Jay-Z to Letitia's mother back in the 90s and recalls parties, nights, and a lot more than just casual visits. But despite the mounting claims and back-channel settlements, Jay-Z continues to maintain radio silence. No public denial, no DNA test, just a wall of lawyers. Beyonce, too, has stayed strategically silent. No press statements, no appearances addressing the allegations. But according to Ari, that silence is part of the playbook, one that protects the empire at all costs. Because behind the scenes, he says, the game has shifted. Where once he faced stall tactics and courtroom runarounds, now he faces something darker. Threats, surveillance, and whispered warnings to stop digging. In every version of these warnings,
Beyonce and Jay-Z will do anything to destroy anyone who speaks out against them.
That's where this story flips, because for years, Beyonce has been painted as the long-suffering wife, the betrayed woman who endured Jay-Z's affairs, his public infidelity, even his rumored entanglements with rising stars like Aaliyah in the late 90s. She's the icon who turned lemonade into art and pain into platinum. But Ramir is tearing that image apart. He says Beyonce isn't just complicit, she's orchestrating the silencing of Jay-Z's alleged past. According to him, she's not cleaning up the mess, she's preventing it from surfacing. And let's not forget that Wanda Satterthwaite, Ramir's mother, spent 2 decades trying to get Jay-Z to take a paternity test. Court documents show named both Jay-Z and her former high school partner as potential fathers. The other man tested negative. Jay-Z never submitted a sample, and by the time the courts caught up, Ramir had aged out of Pennsylvania's legal window for establishing paternity. Jay-Z's team used that loophole to argue jurisdiction. They also claimed he didn't own property in New Jersey, a claim contradicted by public records. His lawyer later admitted that statement was false. No, this part is not alleged. Jay-Z and his team, they have been ducking and dodging taking the DNA test. The question now is why such an elaborate effort was made to dodge a simple DNA test. And according to people close to the case, the answer isn't financial, it's criminal exposure. If Wanda was indeed 16 and Jay-Z was 22, then the implications reach well beyond money. That alone could explain the aggressive efforts to bury the case. But Reimer says it goes deeper. That once his mother passed and the legal guardianship shifted to Lily Coley, his godmother, Beyonce herself entered the equation. Not legally, not publicly, but through messages, third-party outreach, and eventually alleged offers of cash. Multiple sources familiar with the case say Ramir was approached with an off-the-record settlement. No lawsuit, no press. Just walk away and the money will follow. He refused. And that's when, according to him, things turned. First came the online harassment, then the surveillance, then the warning. People who push too hard don't always walk away. And behind that warning, he says, was a representative from Beyonce's inner circle. No names on the record yet, but Ramir says they're coming. Meanwhile, Letitia Masher's situation paints a disturbingly similar picture. Despite claiming Jay-Z is her biological father and pointing to decades of family testimony, she says she's been muzzled by an unofficial agreement, one that provides housing and stability, but with strict conditions. Don't speak to the press, don't mention his name, and under no circumstances show evidence. The arrangement isn't through a court order, insiders say. It's all off books managed allegedly by long-standing Roc Nation affiliates.
I would hope he would think about it and this would be in his mind, but I wouldn't actually know what another person is feeling.
Jay-Z continues to act as if none of this exists. He drops in and out of elite charity galas, launches new business ventures, and poses for family photo ops with Beyonce and their 3 children, Blue Ivy, Rumi, and Sir. But behind the curated Instagram news suit seeking not child support, but damages for reputational harm, emotional trauma, and systemic obstruction. He also accuses Jay-Z's team of fabricating legal arguments to avoid accountability. Jay-Z's lawyers call it nonsense, a legal echo chamber kept alive by court filings and media attention. They've accused Reimer and his godmother of waging a long-running campaign to extort money and attention. They're asking the court to dismiss the case entirely. But if that's true, why do the filings keep growing? Why are records sealed? And why does Ramir keep saying his life is now at risk?
So what happens now is this is simply a civil complaint. And in a civil complaint, it goes through the technical legal process. Now, the distinction, Jessica, between civil and criminal, of course, is that civil is for monetary damages, right? The system can only reward you with money. There's allegations that this 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to fact-finding, right?
Insiders say the answer may be tied to broader legal problems circling Jay-Z's circle. Earlier this year, his name appeared in a civil complaint involving long-standing associate Sean Diddy Combs. Both are named in an allegation dating back to 2008 involving an unnamed minor at an after-party connected to the VAS. Jay-Z denies any involvement. He's issued a sharply worded statement condemning the claim as blackmail and demanding the complainant pursue criminal charges if they truly seek justice. But the timing is hard to ignore. One federal case reopens, another suddenly emerges, and still, Ramir's name stays in the headlines. The question no one seems ready to answer is how Beyonce fits into all of this. Not as a bystander, not as collateral damage, but as a central figure. Because if Ramir's allegations hold any truth, then the curated silence, the behind-the-scenes pressure, and the targeted intimidation point to an operation far bigger than just one man avoiding a DNA test. They point to a strategy, a machine. And at the center of that machine, Ramier says, is a woman known globally for her control. I know so much on how you got where you are.
I know so much on how you got where you are. How you stepped on many people.
How you stepped on many people. The image of Beyonce as the serene matriarch, the loyal wife, the composed performer, it's being cracked open, not by gossip blogs, not by anonymous trolls, but by the man who believes she ordered his silence. He said it plainly. When money didn't work, fear did. And when that didn't work, the threats got personal. It's the contrast that's starting to sting. Jay-Z delivers keynote speeches about justice. Beyonce performs empowerment anthems in front of sold-out stadiums. Yet behind that glittering surface, 2 alleged children live in the shadows, silenced, paid off, or allegedly threatened into submission. Ramir says he's done being quiet. He's naming names. And the people he's naming, if true, don't just reflect poorly on Beyonce. They rewrite the narrative of everything she's built. So now the question isn't just whether Jay-Z fathered Ryan. It's whether the woman the world calls Queen Bey used her power to erase the past. And if that's the case, the implications don't stop at secret settlements. They raise legal, personal, and brand-shattering stakes that could reverberate across industries, because Rye says the queen of pop became the queen of intimidation, and now he's naming names.
And it was pretty much said like Jay doesn't really want awards. Well, he go to the Grammys.
Right.
He you know, come into the black-owned spaces. Let's figure out how to work together so that way we have the relationship when it matters, not when it's convenient for you and your image. Because they all call us when the story is up that they don't.
Image. Because they all call us when the story is up that they don't like. If Ramir's story sounds extreme, look closer, because every scandal surrounding Jay-Z seems to lead back to one thing: control. Control of the narrative, control of the courtroom, control of anyone threatening the Carter brand. We've seen lawsuits vanish, court records mysteriously sealed, and witnesses go quiet just as pressure builds. And it's not just coincidence. Bey's lawyers have already been accused of misleading the court, falsely claiming he didn't own property in New Jersey, despite public documents saying otherwise. And according to Lily Coley, Ramir's godmother and legal guardian, that was only the beginning. She alleges a pattern of fraud and suppression carefully executed to keep a court-ordered DNA test off the table. But insiders whisper that none of that happens without Beyonce's approval.
Fallout with the Beyonce, she's just kind of in the crosshairs because of all of what's going on in the media with respect to Jay-Z and stuff. But with Jay, you know, when he complained at the Grammys about the Grammys not giving Beyonce Artist of the Year, when she's the most decorated Grammy-winning artist ever, we invited him to be honored at our award show. So it's like, okay, we have a black-owned award show. We've honored you in the Breakfast Club. We've honored...
And this is where things get even messier. Beyonce's entire brand is built on strength, motherhood, feminine power, and social justice. She's a Grammy magnate, a global businesswoman, a mother of three, a billionaire. She stood on the Super Bowl stage wearing Black Panther symbolism and told the world that Black Lives Matter. But critics now ask which Black Lives Matter, not acknowledged, just scrubbed. We can't ignore how tightly controlled Beyonce's image is. Every move, every post, every outfit, precision. Her team doesn't just manage press. They manage perception, and that's what makes these accusations so jarring. According to Ramir, it's not Jay-Z's lawyers who've been the most dangerous. It's Beyonce's silence. Because behind the scenes, he says she's not ignoring the problem. She's directing the response. He says that when money didn't buy him off, fear stepped in, that Beyonce's people contacted him not to find a solution.
I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make up their brand.
The type of intimidation that doesn't come from a gossip blogger, but from someone protecting billions. Meanwhile, the same playbook seems to be applied to Letitia Marr. She claims Jay-Z is her father. Her aunt backs the story. Her family says the relationship was real, not random. And according to multiple sources, Jay-Z is still quietly paying the mortgage on Letitia's Maryland home. But reportedly, the price of that help is silence and the absence of his face on her walls. No photographs, no mentions, not even a nod. Because, you know, I really wanted to find out who my father was, and for the case not to go how I was planning it. I really thought it was going to go different than.
Beyonce, you know, it's just a weird thing because I do love her so much, and I would never ever want to do anything to hurt her or her image because she's, you know, she's important to us. But it's just a weird thing right now. Like, I love Beyonce still.
Exploited sealed records and even made fraudulent claims to avoid testing. And again, every legal victory came with a silencing effect. Without a hearing, Wanda's affidavit was buried in sealed state files. Attempts to refile were blocked on procedural grounds. Every road has led to the same closed ends. And yet, the question remains painfully simple. Why no DNA test? If the answer is innocence, a few cheek swabs could end all of this. But that's not what's happening. Instead, we see settlements without signatures, support without acknowledgement, and campaigns to destroy credibility. That's not justice. That's management, strategic, calcul. And Ramir insists that Beyonce is more than just a bystander to it. He says she's the architect. Now, here's where it sharpens. Because just as Ramir pushes forward in federal court, Beyonce is preparing for a global tour. New visual projects, new deals, the queen of reinvention, always one step ahead of controversy. But beneath the platinum visuals, insiders say there's panic. Because if one court compels Jay-Z to test just one, the dominoes could fall. If even one child is proven, every silence, every sealed record, every dollar spent to avoid truth becomes public record. And let's not forget Wanda Ramir's mother. She swore under oath that she was 16 when she met Jay-Z. She passed away in 2019 without ever receiving closure, and yet her voice still echoes through affidavits and recordings, documents that now sit with Judge Cherilyn Peace Garnett in California. Then there's Letitia, quiet on social media now, but once posted, everyone knew he was my father. And Kohi, who says she's been harassed, discredited, and dismissed for trying to defend a young man's right to identity. It's not about money. Ramirez said that from the start. It's about truth and who gets to control it. If the Carters have nothing to hide, why spend millions protecting nothing? If Beyonce's innocent in all this, why are people claiming she's the one making the threats?
Apartment building, and you know, they did what they did in there, you know, talked a little bit, had a good time, party, and I guess had you know, I can't fully talk as my mom because I'm not my mom. I'm just telling you guys what she told me. And I honestly just believe it. You know, it's just no doubt in my mind that I believe it. My mom wouldn't just.
The contradictions are piling up. Beyonce, the face of empowerment, allegedly threatening other women behind closed doors. Jay-Z, the voice of justice, allegedly dodging the most basic accountability. Ramirez says he never wanted to be famous. He wanted answers. But now that his name is known, he says he's ready to push all the way. He says Beyonce's intimidation won't work anymore, that he's done being afraid. And if that's true, the Carter dynasty could face more than embarrassment. They could face discovery, depositions, public records, real accountability. Because this story isn't about one man demanding attention. It's about decades of silence and the people who may have been forced to keep it. So, what happens if Ramirez refuses to disappear? What happens if a court demands the one thing Jay-Z has refused to give? One cheek swab, one paternity test. That's all it would take. But instead, we see legal gymnastics, private pressure, and allegedly the world's most powerful woman quietly making problems go away. And now those problems are speaking louder than ever. Ramirez vanished. The world may never know what Beyonce was protecting. So, what do you think? Is this the collapse of the Carter brand, or just another conspiracy stretching too far? Let us know in the comments. And remember, in the world of power, fame, and billion-dollar secrets, the truth is often the first thing to disappear